welcome back to RTA. In this week's video, we're going to continue talking about the challenges teachers are facing, and we have part 2 of the exclusive interview with Mr. Garfield Ferguson.
But first, let's go ahead and get into the juicy news.
Ladies and gentlemen, so first I have a really good book that you guys need to go out and purchase if you are an aspiring educator or a veteran educator. It doesn't matter. If you are in the field of education, then this book is for you. It is entitled Before the Bell Rings, and it is authored by myself, Pantuita Tresvant. So again, if you're into education, this is going to be the book for you. On the other hand, if you're just experiencing conflict in the workplace, then you want to go out and purchase When the Sky is Blue, also authored by myself, Pantuita Tresvant. Both books can be found on barnesandnoble.com, amazon.com, and at some of your local bookstores. So go out and make your purchases today. And now it's time for us to get into those lifestyle and beauty highlights.
Okay, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to part 2 with our guest, Garfield Ferguson. We're just going to dive right into the next question. So, has classroom management been an issue? Can you kind of explain how things work now in the classroom?
Okay, so I'm trying to remember if it's actually, to be honest with you, for me personally, classroom management, I've gotten a little bit better when the kids came back in the classroom. I guess the reason why I'm saying this is because I feel that when they got back, they still had to kind of adjust to something that they weren't clear. The kids weren't clear of what is this environment going to look like. Mm-hmm. So I remember just talking to others saying that they're so quiet, there's really nothing going on. It's just very, compared to what it used to be before where you would have a few more challenges, mm-hmm. It had gotten better. It had gotten better because there were no fighting. There wasn't a lot of interaction where that would actually lead to something else.
That's interesting.
I felt like they were more receptive to your direction. You know, they were happy to be back in an environment that they needed very badly. You know what I'm saying? It's a big part of their development. So I honestly, I actually said maybe it's because of the whole time being out, but you know, the one thing with kids, you'll talk to them and you'll ask them. I always tell them to be honest. Like they'll say, "Oh, I don't want to be in school. I don't want to be in school." But when they have to be out that long, they want to be in school. Because when they got back, like you couldn't tell because they were wearing masks, of course, and but they really wanted to be back. They honestly wanted to be back, and they did not want to. There was no huge challenge, you know what I'm saying? At least I didn't see any. They were just more, it was the behavior. I did not see anything. I honestly can't say they came back and it was, you know, anything challenging or anything like that because I didn't see it.
Do you think that was
now that we're more settled in, you know, it's just a typical, you know, you might have one or two little behavior, but when it comes to classroom management, I think it's based on, you know, it's very teachers, it's individualized in a sense. Your classroom might look different from mine depending on how you address this. I always feel that I'm the type of teacher where I'm going to tell my students why, you know, we can't do this because, you know, it's good for them to know why. I think students relate to more why. Instead of you just telling them, hey, you need to, I want to tell you why, right? And instead of me telling you, you need to quiet down, I'm going to tell you, hey, it would be best for you to do that because others are working around you, know, we want to be respectful. So you want to kind of relate it in a way where they feel like, you're not just telling me to do something, but you're actually showing me that by doing this, I'm actually contributing to this stable and, you know, environment that we all have to share. So I guess it's the way you put it. I think apart from my first year, and Ms. Trezor can speak to that. Maybe that was the year that I was a new teacher. I had a lot of challenges. Classroom management for me was just not there.
Yeah.
But when I went to the school, when I transitioned to the school, I have no problem with my kids because I'm the type of teacher where I'm focused on them and I want them to have a lot of choices. And within those choices, I want to explain to them, the reason why we're doing things. I explain to them why they need to know what a theme is. Like, I need you to know why you need to know what the theme is of this text.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you know why, then you're more inclined to want to learn instead of me just saying to you, hey, I want you to learn this. And that works in my classroom. So you will walk in my classroom, the kids, they listen, right? They know when I'm ready. I'm going to give you 2 minutes, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to finish the conversation with your friends so we can move on. And they will just stop. Instead of be quiet. Again, it's all based on the teacher and how they handle their classroom.
It's based on the teacher, and students know when the teachers that care and the teachers that don't care. I went to a workshop years and years ago entitled Capturing Kids' Hearts. And one thing that a takeaway that I remember, and I never forgot it, was you have to be able to capture a student's heart before you can capture their mind. And that is something that stuck with me throughout my teaching career. But yeah, students definitely know who cares and who doesn't. So it does depend on the teacher. But it's very interesting to know that you saw that the behaviors improved. And I guess we could probably attribute that to maybe fear, and then that longing, like you said, for just human interactions, because they were in isolation for so long. So just, being happy to be back and a part of something and interacting with other individuals, even though they still had their mask and things of that nature. It's still, we need each other. We feed off of each other. So that's really interesting to hear you say that the behavior's improved. That's a good thing.
Right. And I just want to add to, basically, it's the experience, of course, of where I am currently at, right? And I think that there might be studies going on about this because I think it might be different in different places, to be honest with you.
Right.
So, but I noticed that where I am currently, I noticed that it wasn't because I know what it was before. So I noticed that. But it would be interesting to know how it was if they did this, across the country, because I'm pretty sure we have to take into consideration variables, right? There are different things that are happening with different students. And I guess that's the reason why I'm so big on, hey, I have to focus on each of my kids because they're different. Just like how their learning styles may be different, their needs are different. And that might be that is the same in different schools. While this school might not be showing those type of issues, you might go somewhere else and it's totally different because now kids don't remember how to behave around each other. So we might, we're going to have maybe more of a challenge in regards to behavior, right? While in my school, it could be the same, they don't remember, but now they're trying to figure out, how do I do this? So it's because of that, it's so calm. So it's different in that sense.
Yeah.
And that would be really interesting, and I'm pretty sure someone's going to study on that to see how that it looks across the country.
Yeah. Wow. So, the next question is going to be, do you believe that, and this is kind of off of the pandemic topic, this is just classroom, in general, and the generation of students that you're teaching in today's society. Do you believe that social media apps such as TikTok are shortening the attention span of students today?
That's a really good question.
And how is that affecting, if you agree with that, how is that affecting them when it comes to learning?
So, to be honest with you, I really don't know. I don't even think I can give you an answer based on that, right? I know that they're on it, right? I know that my students are on it because we've had discussions about this. So I don't know if it's shortening their attention span. What I will say, though, is that when I think about education, I think about how can we incorporate these technologies into the classroom to make sure that they're engaged. And because it's something that they love so much, not just TikTok, but Instagram and Snapchat and all these other things, how am I able to use those tools, because they seem to be so fully engaged with those, and see if I can actually connect that to the classroom and what they're doing. Kids' engagement, I know that within the first few minutes of class, they kind of tap out in a sense. So I made it, and I think it's not just me, but I've actually have a system where as I get into the lesson, I try not to talk too much. I try to turn it over to them. So maybe I'm going to introduce this topic today, and I'll model how we're doing it quickly. And then as I move on to the next step, I'm telling them, hey, you guys are going to help me with this thinking, right? Because I want to put it on them. And so I'm going through different steps of, hey, I need you to talk with your table partners, your peers, and I want you to discuss what I just asked, and someone there is going to share. So I'm constantly putting it on them, and what I find that is because I'm going to lose them if I stand out there in front of them and keep talking, because nobody wants to listen to me. And I say that to them, nobody wants to listen to me that long, right? So I would put it on them to have the conversation and then share it out. And what I find happen is the collaboration piece, and we know that it works because kids learn from each other. But not only that, as they share out, the answers are coming out. I'm directing the answer, like, let me hear what you have to say. Okay, that's a good point, right? Let's jot that down. Let me hear what you have to say. And it's not, oh, you're wrong. It's, how can I better add to that answer to make it better, right? Because I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm going to tell you we're going to make it better. So you know that your contribution is still valued, and I'm going around the class to get it. I think that with me, just to connect back to the question that you asked in regards to attention span, I try to shorten it because I know that they are easily disengaged. Okay. So I try to shorten it by using those things. I also try to give them more options when it comes to the product that they have to turn in. There are times when I feel like, because we do a lot of writing in class, I try to make sure that they're reading and writing daily, at least a little, in addition to collaborating. I try to feel like they need to do all those things, right? You need to talk, you need to do a little writing, you need to read, you need all these steps. It should happen daily. So if we go through a whole lesson for a week, the product might not just be for you to write me a response, but maybe you want to do an interview, or maybe you want to do a TikTok video and turn that into me, or maybe you want to do a Flipgrid. So I'm going to give you a whole host of choices, because the student approach is the best approach, and it's always going to be the best approach, because student needs to know that they have a choice in how they show their learning, and then by you putting that on them, they feel like they have certain autonomy over what it is that they're going to turn in. They have a say into what it is that they're learning and how they're showing you their learning. So I guess, in a sense, I try to do all of that because I know that I'm competing with TikTok and Instagram, and I am no competition to those things, right?
Well, I just think about it. I think about it, as a society. Yeah,
and I put it on them. I put it back on them.
I think about it as a society with, even when we look at the music, back in the 70s, there were 10-minute songs, and people were dancing and vibing to the music for 10 minutes, and maybe the singing part was over, and then the last 5 minutes of the song was instrumental, and people just enjoyed that. And then fast forward to the 90s, songs condensed down to about 5 minutes. In today's society, you're looking at 1.5, 2 minute songs, and then with TikTok, 30-second snippets of this information. So I guess I was curious to know if that's affecting students inside of the classroom. Like, is it taken away from their critical thinking, their ability to critically think about something? You know what I mean?
Right. And I'm pretty sure you're on something and I'm pretty sure it might be. But what I guess for me, it's because I know these things exist, because I do have a TikTok, even though I haven't been on it in a while, and I do have Instagram and Snapchat. So I have these things. I might be way older than they are, but I do have it, and I do know that you can. There are times when I go on Instagram and I click on one video and I look and it's an hour. I've been going from video to video, and I'm like, wow. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Aware of that. I have that mindset when I get into the classroom that, hey, education changes, right? So we have to make sure that we're keeping up with the changes. And we're competing again with these technologies that are out there. Now, I could be that teacher to say, well, you know what, I'm not going to compete with that. I'm just going to do what I'm going to do, or I can change, right? I prefer to change because I'm always going to be adaptive in regards to what's happening. And that's the reason why when my students sit in front of me, I know that these things are of value to them. So I'm going to use it, right? Because a student might be happier to make me a TikTok video telling me about this text, identifying themes, identifying, author's purpose in it, because he or she's doing it through this video where it's more fun than sitting in front of a boring text and doing it, right? So if that's the case, hey, if you're showing me that you're learning through that method, I'm okay with that, because when it's all said and done, what we're trying to do is to get them to be not only critical thinkers, but independent thinkers, to grow their knowledge. And these things are going to be there. We're never going to, we're never going to get rid of technology because it's here to stay. Mm-hmm. How can we use it to better our classroom? Yeah. How can we use it to help our student? That is my mindset as I move forward, because instead of me, addressing, hey, it's doing this, I'm going to try to make sure that I am making sure that I let them know that I know you have these things. Mm-hmm. How can I use these things? Because kids are smart. One thing I've said to my students, the things you guys do with technology, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, how can we transfer those skill sets to the work that you're doing in the classroom? Mm-hmm. And that is our challenge. How can we get them to do that? Because there are times when I'm on my computer and I can't figure out how to go. And I ask the student and they're like, right there. And I'm like, wow, this is just amazing what you just did. You did that.
You don't feel like it's taken away from their focus at all?
I think it is. Okay. It is because they know what they get from it, and within that short period of time, they can get it. Mm-hmm. And in a classroom, you hear students say on board, it's because they don't want to sit and listen to you talk for 20 minutes telling me about what I should be doing on this text, right? Mm-hmm. Talk for the few minutes, grab their attention for that few minutes, turn it back over to them to do some of the thinking with their peers, then move on to the next thing that they're doing in regards to the text. Because guess what? That technology that you're competing with is going to give them that in that 15, 30 seconds, as you said, and they can move on to something else that's going to keep, holding their attention. So I think in a sense that because that is happening, we just have to change the way that we're teaching. We're not going to get rid of that.
Now, do you think that
I don't know about our school, but my school has this thing in place where students do not have a phone in the classroom. Okay. I can tell you this. Okay. It's the best thing since sliced bread. I promise you. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
I was going to ask that.
And it's school-wide. It's school-wide. They come in, their phones are, parents are told for them to keep the phones at home, but if they carry it, it has to be often in their bag. And we watch them put it in their bag. Their bags are put in the front of the classroom. Remember how we used to do testing where your bag's in the front of the classroom? Mm-hmm. That's every day in my classroom. That's not just doing testing. You only need your notebook and your computer, because they all have a computer now, one-to-one. Your notebook and your computer is something to write with. Everything is in your bag. So for that 1 hour that you're with me, I'm sorry, you can dream about TikTok for that hour, but you're not going to have it in front of you. You're not going to have it in distraction. And I'm telling you, Ms. Stresved, that is amazing. Mm. That 1 little hour that you have them without that.
Yes, I bet. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was going to be a next part of my piggybacking on the initial question is, are they getting on their cell phones during classroom time? So that's good that you guys have that into practice and into play. Okay.
So my next question is, okay, we have had a lot of school shootings, and with school shootings in general being or happening more frequently now than ever, what are some concerns that teachers have, parents have, and students have?
So I guess we all have concerns. I think one of the biggest concern is, I guess our parents is, how safe are my kids when they're in school? teachers feel the same way too, because our first job is to protect the kids, right? We're there to protect them first, and then we're there to educate them. But protecting the kids are our first job. So with that being said, everything that's happening, kids are aware of it because they watch the news or they hear about it from friends. So because of those things, I guess it depends again on the school where you work at and what things they have in place. But where I work, they pretty much have these things in consideration. Where our building is secure, we do have SROs, on property. You have to be buzzed into the building. There's cameras literally everywhere. You walk outside my classroom, there's cameras all around. And once we're in classroom, the door is closed because if an AP or someone's coming to your class, they have keys, they can open it. So the doors are closed. My students are instructed not to open the door. Like if someone knocks, I need to go to the door. I don't want you to run to the door because that can be an issue. And then we have drills. There are drills in all these schools. So it's sad that these things are happening, but it's our reality. And what we have to do in a situation like that is to make sure that we are fully prepared. And hopefully that never happens, but we still have to be prepared because it's happening, right? So everyone is concerned. It's the honest truth. Teachers, I'm concerned. I want to go to work to do what I do. I'm not going to work and, expecting anything bad to happen. And I'm pretty sure in all those schools that these things happen, teachers don't go to work to expect someone's going to come in the building and do that. Yeah. Kids should feel safe inside of a school environment. Think about it when you drop your child off to school. You're not thinking anything like that's happening. So when I see that on the news and as a teacher, I am very much concerned, and I'm pretty sure parents are too because they're dropping their kids off. And the kids are too because they are who they are. And that's why I go back to especially with them putting their bags in front of the classroom. And I think I mentioned that. I like that. And I don't think that came about because of this, but I like them putting their stuff in their bag and just having the bag in front of the classroom because I don't want you to have your bag at your desk. There's no reason for you to have it. It's in front of the classroom where I'm able to see it and, it's away from you because, I'm just saying, we're not thinking about it in a security sense, but that could be a security thing too, just having your bag away from you because if someone has something in their bag, they're more likely to go for it if it's at their desk.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So your bag in front of the classroom. I know that the school that I came from in Texas with me and Ms. Tresman, they went through metal detectors and stuff like that. The school that I'm currently at, we don't have that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we need that either because we don't have any huge issues like that. But then again, I don't know everything. But I like that the school have in place where, the kids have their bag in front of the classroom, their phone is in their bag. I know that our school, Ms. Tresman, they used to walk around with these clear-looking bags where you can see everything in the bag. I'm like, okay, but it's what the school, you got to do what you have to do to keep your students and your faculty members safe. So while this is a big issue, I think, again, parents are concerned. Definitely the people working at the school are concerned because it's a big thing. And students are concerned, but I think it's up to the schools, it's up to the school district, the state. How do we put stuff in place to make sure that we're all safe? And that is just something that we have to keep doing and keep improving, basically.
Are you guys having any restorative circle conversations, speaking on that topic in specific? Are you sitting down with, do you have students that come to you with these concerns, and have you had moments where you've had to actually sit your class down and have conversations about these very topics?
Yes, I have. Definitely have. I think it was not so long ago, because as I said, we have drills, right? The school has different drills. We're fire drills. We have, school shooting drills. I remember back in the days, you only had fire drills and if they had
tornado, bad weather,
Now we
active shooter. Yeah.
So I remember I had a conversation with my students because there are teachable moments that you can't miss as a teacher. You just have to stop and be like, hey, let's address this because, we all need to know this. And we were having a drill, and I think the drill actually required us to turn the lights out, computers are closed, just to, the doors are locked, of course. And tell the kids, like, you need to be sitting on this side of the wall so if someone comes through, because each classroom door, and I don't remember if it was like that at our school, Miss Trez, if the classroom door had a little glass in the middle where you can just, it's probably the same. So we would sit away, so if there's someone out there looking in, they can't see us, so it's dark, right? So we know there's going to be a drill, and I told them, and then it happened, so they're seated quietly, the classroom is dark, projector, everything is turned off, and I could hear the doors being checked because the people were checking it. They're doing the drill. And I remember it was a few of my students, and even though I instructed them to be quiet, I did hear a little, talking or whatever. And after the drill, right, I had to have a conversation about it. And I explained to them how important this is, and I do pray and hope that we never have to go through this. But I explained to them how important it is for us to be quiet and for us to be very conscious when it comes to following the instructions with this, because it's a life and death thing, right? We want to be safe. And I believe that just talking to them about, we're here to keep you safe. Mm-hmm. And for me to keep you safe, we all have to do the right thing. And one of the right thing is for you to sit quietly, right? These drills are important. And I explained it to them, had a conversation with them, and I think it helped, because sometimes you might have some students that are not taking it serious because it's just a drill, but we're doing this because we're hoping this never happens, but we also want to be prepared. Mm-hmm. So while this is also being addressed around the school when we have assembly, it's also up to teachers to address it in the classroom to let the kids know that, hey, this is serious. We are here to protect you. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that when mom and dad comes later to pick you up, everything is great. And for that to happen, we all have to play our part.
Right.
So I strongly believe in putting it on them as well to make sure that you are part of this, and we all have to play our part in this. So, yeah, I definitely addressed it with them.
Okay. Okay, so my next question. So overall, how do you, as an educator, overall, how do you think public schools can improve? Like, is there one thing that comes to mind right away that you see the public schools needing an improvement on? And if so, how should they go about handling that? And also, in addition to that, the second part of the question is, what advice would you give a brand new teacher coming into the field of education?
So, good questions. So in regards to public schools, I think that there's many things that I think could be improved, but I'm going to focus on equity because I think that's important. I believe that, and I guess when it comes to equity, oftentimes it's based on where your school is located. It's based on, maybe the state that you're in, the resources that are available. But I think that's one of the big issues with public school. It's the equity part of it, because I know that there are certain schools in certain areas that don't have the resources that they need, while parents in that area wants the same quality of education for their kids. Mm-hmm. And you have where parents are sometimes living in a certain area and trying to get their kids to schools in another area, which, I don't know in Texas, I don't remember what that is, but like in Georgia, you have to be living in a certain area to send your kids to those schools. Mm-hmm. But why should a parent have to, think about sending their kids to a school in another area using maybe a friend or a family member's address? Because in the area they live, the school doesn't have the same resources. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's very important that we address that. I don't believe that because your area has homes that are $300,000 and $400,000, that the schools should be better than the schools with areas where there are more apartments. Right. You know what I'm saying? Because if we're trying to get students or get our young people to be prepared for the role of taking over, because that's what they will do, we have to make sure that we are doing better for them than we did for ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to education, I don't think that we should be putting a price on it based on your zip code. And I see that happening still, because I can go to a school where I teach at and I see the resources that they have and all these things, and then I can drive to another area and I look at the school building and I look at the school compound and I can tell it's poorly funded, there's not a lot going on. But I also notice in the area there are more apartment buildings, there are more, you know what I'm saying? So you see where the socioeconomic status is a little lower in that area.
Right.
I think it's wrong. I think it's bad. I think it's setting up. And it's oftentimes, to be honest, in Black and brown skin communities that this is the case. And it's sad because when it comes to kids, I see all kids getting the same opportunity to get to where they need to get to. And oftentimes, especially the kids in these poor neighborhoods, that's their only hope of making it out and, making a better life for themselves. And in this country where, we're considered a first world country, this should not be the case. And then we can go into talking about, making sure that we have the right people in place to help these kids, making sure that we're focusing on what the kids' needs are so that we can help them, making sure that we're also reaching out to the community, right? Because when I look at school and I look at it as that safe place, that place that kids can come and they can socialize and they can develop, it's also sometimes a place they come to get a meal. There's just so much that the school is the center of the community. And regardless of where that community is, that school should be funded properly to do that, right? So I think that the people that are in charge of doing this, which is oftentimes politicians, which is kind of sad to me because they're not educators, and I feel like you can pass a law, but you don't really know what's happening on the ground unless you're in the building or those communities. That has to change, right? We shouldn't have to worry about why is this school underfunded, but then that school has all these programs. They have everything and more, right? Their PTA has thousands of dollars while this school barely has a PTA. I mean, it's just ridiculous to me at this point. And as an educator, I feel that should not be happening because, again, students need to get these opportunities because we need to make sure they're better prepared than we are to, do a better job than we're doing currently, and we see how that looks. I think the second part of your question was what to advise to offer new teachers. You know what? So when I was working at Spring High School in Texas, I can't remember her name, but she's a counselor. And she gave me one piece of advice, and she said to me, I'm going to give you one piece of advice. And I said, oh my God, this is awesome. Because at that time she was teaching, she was in education for 26 years. I'm like, she's actually going to tell me the secret to teaching now. This is great. I'm waiting to hear this. And what she said to me, she said, take a day for yourself. She said, take a day for yourself. That one day you should not be doing any schoolwork. It should just be for you. I'm telling you this because if you don't, you're going to burn out, and God forbid something happened to you, they're just going to replace you. And that was kind of profound to me because I'm thinking, I thought she was going to give me this tip on, classroom management or something big like that. But I honestly tell you guys, that was the best advice she gave me. That was the best advice because think about it. You're not good for yourself. You're not going to be good for anyone. So you have to remember the environment of teaching is very stressful. And Mr. Resvin, and you both know this because you were with your mom at school all the time you see, so you both know how this environment is. People who teach, they do it because they want to. They do it because they want to. They want to make a change. They want to impact this society, and it is it's a lot to do. It can be very stressful. So I think that there are times as new teachers, and especially as new teachers, you're going to be even more overwhelmed. Just take that day to not think about anything that has to do with your job. That day is for you to relax. And even now that I'm in school working on this doctorate, I promise you, on Saturdays, like today I'm talking to you, I don't do anything. Nothing. I mean, Sunday is going to happen, right? And during the week, when I'm at work, I'll do some of my coursework. But on Saturday, I do not do any schoolwork. I do not do any of my coursework. All I do is relax at home, watch television, catch up with friends, maybe go out for brunch or whatever. That day for me is everything. You need that day. I don't know which day it is. More than likely it'll be Saturday or Sunday because we don't have those days. But new teachers, I would just say, please take that day because trust me, a lot of the things you learn in school, in college, when you get to the real school, you're going to be learning way more.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So don't worry about, oh, I need to learn this. You're going to learn it. Teaching is learning on the job. The experience part of it will come. Take care of yourself. That's the best thing.
Yes. So we have a little bonus question. For anyone who wants to reach out to you via social media, where can they reach out and talk to you?
Okay, so I'll give you my social media and I'll give you my, I have like a personal email, but my email is GarfieldFerguson@gmail. So it's just my name with my middle initial in it at Gmail. That's my personal email. Or if it's on Facebook, it's Garfield R. Ferguson at, Facebook. You can just find me on Facebook. My picture will be there. I doubt there are many Garfields anyway, because that name is so unpopular. But yeah, it's just Garfield R. Ferguson Gmail. Okay. So yeah, they can reach me on those.
Okay, and we will leave all of his information down in the description box below for you guys to view.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure.
Yes.
A pleasure. Thank you for sharing all of that information and giving our audience so much insight. And thank you for taking time out on your off day to meet with us and chat with us. So, all right.
Thank you both. Thank you for this opportunity, and I will definitely tune in to see it. I'm excited, but thank you anytime I can, when it comes to education, I am passionate about it still. Yes. Thank God. I'm still passionate about it, so I'm always ready to talk about it. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Today's food for thought. One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's video. We hope you liked it and got lots of inspiration from it.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this to come.